What if you could defeat those who wronged you? Without shouting, without revenge, without even saying a word. The Stoics mastered this art. Their enemies were silenced not by retaliation, but by a power far greater. Self-mastery today, you'll discover the smartest way to destroy those who hurt you. Using pure Stoic wisdom. Welcome back to the Stoic spirit. For over 2,000 years, Stoicism has taught us that the most powerful victories are often silent. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all lived surrounded by betrayal, insult, and hostility. Yet they didn't waste their lives seeking revenge. Instead, they found a way to rise above, turning pain into fuel, and enemies into their own punishment. In this video, you'll learn how to apply their wisdom to your own life, so no one can ever truly hurt you again. When someone wrongs us, the first instinct that rises within is a storm of emotions. Anger, resentment, the desire to shout back, or to seek revenge. It is human, deeply human, to want to fight fire with fire, to make them feel the sting of the wound they inflicted upon us. Yet the Stoics looked at this instinct with suspicion, not because they denied its existence, but because they knew that to follow it blindly was to become enslaved. Marcus Aurelius, who had more enemies than most of us will ever encounter, warned himself daily not to be surprised when people lied, cheated, insulted, or betrayed. He understood that people act according to their own ignorance, their own flaws, their own limited understanding of life. To expect otherwise was to live in fantasy. But more importantly, he understood that to respond in kind, to descend into hatred or cruelty, was to hand those enemies the keys to his inner kingdom. The Stoic way, then, was not to shout, not to retaliate, not to plot elaborate schemes of revenge, but to defeat the offender in silence, through mastery of the self. This may sound weak to the modern ear, conditioned by movies that glorify vengeance and narratives of triumph over rivals. But think for a moment, what is the most devastating blow you can deal to someone who wishes to hurt you? It is to show them that they have no power over you, that their words bounce off you like arrows against a shield, that their cruelty, their gossip, their betrayal does not alter the calm waters of your inner life. In this sense, the Stoic approach is not passive, it is the ultimate form of strength. For only a strong man or woman can walk through insult and injury without collapsing into rage. Epictetus, born a slave, knew humiliation, abuse, and even physical torture. He could have cursed his fate, raged against his master, or sunk into bitterness. Instead, he taught his students that when someone does you wrong, it is because they believe it is right. This perspective disarms hatred at its root, because it forces us to see our offenders not as monsters, but as misguided humans. By shifting our perception, we rob them of their aura of power. They become small, pitiable, even enslaved to their own ignorance. And so the Stoic response is not a counterattack, but a quiet, towering indifference. That indifference, paradoxically, is not coldness, it is the highest form of freedom. Imagine then someone who spreads lies about you. Your reputation takes a hit, whispers follow you, and you feel that urge to defend yourself, to confront them, to restore your image. But what if you did not? What if you lived so uprightly, so consistently with your values, that the lies collapsed on their own? Over time, your character would shine brighter than any falsehood. The liar would choke on their own shame, because your silence exposed their ugliness. This is not fantasy, it is the very tactic that Marcus Aurelius used as emperor. Surrounded by politicians eager to slander him, he did not waste time with counter-accusations. He lived as he wrote. If you can show me I'm mistaken, I'll change willingly. But if you attack without reason, I'll stand unmoved. Such composure is devastating to enemies, because it forces them to face themselves. Nothing breaks a hostile person more than the realization that they cannot control you. And this realization is the essence of the Stoic weapon. It is a weapon of absence, of refusal, of stillness. It cuts deeper than words. Seneca, too, taught this path. He wrote that when someone insults you, the injury does not lie in the insult itself, but in your interpretation of it. If you choose not to take offense, then no offense exists. The one who insults becomes like a fool throwing punches into the air, while you walk on, untouched. This is why Seneca said, the greatest revenge is not to be like your enemy. By refusing to mirror their bitterness, you elevate yourself beyond their reach. They aim their darts at you, but you do not enter the battlefield. Instead, you stand on a higher ground, and from that vantage point, their rage looks small, almost laughable. And here lies the paradox. Your silence, your refusal to respond in kind, becomes the loudest answer of all. In fact, it becomes a mirror in which your enemy sees their own weakness reflected back at them. You do not need to destroy them, for they will collapse under the weight of their own shame. To live by this principle requires training, of course. The mind must be prepared, daily, to expect insult, betrayal, and hostility. This was Marcus Aurelius' morning meditation. Today, you will meet the arrogant, the ungrateful, the treacherous, the selfish. Do not be surprised. They cannot harm you unless you let them. He knew that forewarning was for arming. When insult comes as no surprise, it loses its sting. When betrayal is anticipated, it ceases to destabilize. In this way, the Stoic not only survives the malice of others, but uses it as fuel for growth. Every insult becomes a chance to test their composure. Every act of betrayal becomes an opportunity to strengthen their self-reliance. Every hostile encounter becomes a silent victory, because it proves that no one outside can touch the fortress within. This is the smartest way to destroy those who hurt you. You let them destroy themselves, while you rise untouched. Their hatred corrodes them, while your calm preserves you. Their attempts at control reveal their own weakness, while your indifference reveals your power. Over time, the contrast becomes undeniable. They are left restless, bitter, and small, while you walk away larger, freer, and untouchable. There is a kind of victory that does not come with applause, shouts, or public recognition. It is quiet, subtle, and often invisible to everyone except those who tried to hurt you. It is the victory of remaining unshaken, of holding your ground without a single word of retaliation. This is why the Stoics believed that the highest form of strength is self-control. Think of anger, it promises power, but it always delivers slavery. When you lash out, when you lose your composure, you confirm to your enemy that they succeeded in pulling you down to their level. But when you remain composed, when you answer insult with silence, you leave them unsettled. They expect fire, but you give them stillness. They expect chaos, but you show them harmony. That contrast burns deeper than any words you could have spoken. Seneca once observed that an insult is only as deep as the one who receives it. If you refuse to internalize it, it evaporates. This is the Stoic secret. Control the meaning you assign to other people's actions, and you control whether they succeed in hurting you. Their actions may be ugly, but your interpretation determines whether you bleed. And when you refuse to bleed, they are left holding a weapon that suddenly looks ridiculous in their hands. Imagine someone calling you a fool. If you rage, if you argue back, if you demand they retract their words, then you admit their insult touched you. But if you smile and carry on, if you remain unmoved, they are exposed, not you. They begin to look like the fool, shouting into the void while you walk away in dignity. This reversal is one of the quietest but most devastating punishments for those who wish to harm you. But Stoicism does not stop with silence. It asks you to go further, to actively convert the wrongs done to you into a kind of fuel. Marcus Aurelius said that just as fire consumes everything thrown into it and transforms it into flame, so too should the Stoic consume adversity. If someone betrays you, let it become an opportunity to practice resilience. If someone mocks you, let it sharpen your humility. If someone blocks your path, let it force you to find a better one. In this way, those who harm you unintentionally become your teachers. Their cruelty gives you strength, their lies give you patience, their hostility gives you wisdom. Nothing destroys them more effectively than watching you grow stronger from the very weapons they tried to use against you. This transformation is not abstract, it is practical. Think of Epictetus. He lived as a slave, endured beatings, and was mocked for his low status. Yet from those humiliations, he forged teachings that still guide people centuries later. His master once twisted his leg until it broke, and Epictetus calmly said, "You will break it." And when it broke, he said, "Did I not tell you?" That composure, that ability to remain untouched in spirit even as his body was harmed, made him unconquerable. What punishment could possibly break a man who turned pain into philosophy? His master harmed him, yes, but in the end, who was destroyed, the slave, or the master? This is the paradox of Stoicism. When you cease to fight on the battlefield of insults and betrayal, you win a greater war. You shift the arena from the outer world, which you cannot control, to the inner world, which is entirely yours. Your enemy tries to control you with words or actions, but you answer by controlling yourself. That shift of power is the most silent but most devastating form of victory. They wanted you weak, but they find you strong. They wanted you to collapse, but you grow steadier. They wanted you broken, but you remain whole. In time, their hatred consumes them, while your calm nourishes you. Yet there is another layer to this Stoic wisdom: compassion. It may seem strange to speak of compassion toward those who hurt you, but Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that every wrongdoer acts out of ignorance. If they truly understood the good, they would not choose evil. This does not excuse their behavior, but it reframes it. When you see your enemy not as a monster, but as a misguided soul trapped in their own blindness, it becomes easier to let go of anger. And paradoxically, this compassion robs them of even more power. For hatred thrives when met with hatred, but it withers when met with calm understanding. The one who tries to hurt you finds no enemy to battle, only a wall of indifference or even pity. That is the kind of silent punishment that lingers in their heart far longer than your rage ever could. To practice this, you must remind yourself daily of what is in your control and what is not. You cannot control if someone lies about you. You cannot control if someone insults you. You cannot control if someone betrays you. But you can always control your response. And in that control lies your freedom, your strength, and your silent victory. This is why the Stoics taught that to conquer yourself is the greatest conquest of all. For when you master yourself, no one outside can truly harm you. They may bruise your body, but they cannot touch your mind. They may tarnish your reputation, but they cannot stain your character. They may try to chain you, but they cannot imprison your spirit. So the smartest way to destroy those who hurt you is not through revenge, not through loud confrontations, not through elaborate schemes. It is through the quiet, steady, relentless mastery of yourself. To walk in peace while others rage. To remain calm while others try to provoke. To grow stronger while they waste their strength in hatred. In the end, their punishment is not what you do to them, but what they do to themselves when they realize they never had power over you. But here's the deeper truth that Stoicism reveals. The real destruction of those who hurt you is not something you must actively pursue. It unfolds naturally when you live according to reason, virtue, and posterity. Those who harm you plant seeds of their own suffering. Their lies corrode their credibility. Their hatred poisons their peace. Their betrayal isolates them from trust. You do not have to fight them, because they are already engaged in a battle against themselves. By refusing to join that battle, you allow their self-inflicted wounds to deepen, while you walk away untouched. This is why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you refuse to mirror the ugliness of others, you remind them of their own failure. Think of it like this. If someone shouts at you with rage, and you answer with rage, you confirm the effectiveness of their weapon. But if you remain calm, their weapon turns useless, even foolish. They look ridiculous screaming at someone who does not react. In that moment, the shame is theirs, not yours. And that shame is far heavier than any punishment you could have imposed. Silence, therefore, is not weakness. It is a mirror. It reflects their own flaws back at them, magnified by your refusal to participate. The Stoics also teach us that energy is life. Every thought, every word, every action consumes your limited supply of energy. When you pour it into revenge or anger, you are draining yourself to feed your enemy. But when you conserve that energy, when you redirect it into growth, learning, and discipline, you become untouchable. Your enemy might steal your comfort for a moment, but they cannot touch your deeper progress. Imagine someone mocks you to pull you down. If you argue, you are stuck in their trap. If you walk away and use that time to build yourself, whether through study, training, or reflection, you rise higher. Over weeks, months, and years, this creates a gap so wide between you and your enemies that they cannot even reach you anymore. They fall into obscurity, while you ascend into clarity. Seneca captured this perfectly when he said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Time itself becomes your ally." When you resist the urge to strike back immediately, the storm of emotions passes, and you see clearly. Often, what felt urgent and necessary in the heat of anger turns out to be meaningless when viewed with calm. Your silence today becomes their haunting tomorrow. They begin to wonder why you did not respond. Was it because you are stronger? Was it because their words were too weak? Was it because they never mattered to you at all? The uncertainty gnaws at them. They replay the insult in their minds, but without your reaction, it loses its power. They realize they fought a war that never began, and here lies one of the greatest Stoic lessons. The world cannot break you without your consent. Insults are not physical stones, they are sounds, vibrations in the air. Whether they wound or not depends entirely on the story you tell yourself about them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And you have the power to wipe out that judgment right now. This is the weapon that Stoicism gives you, the ability to rewrite the meaning of what happens to you. Your enemy wants their insult to humiliate you, but you can decide that it means nothing. You can even decide to use it as proof of your strength, because you stood unshaken. What greater punishment for them than to see their attack dissolve into your indifference? But what about those who harm you in ways deeper than words, those who betray your trust, steal your opportunities, or wound your heart? The Stoics remind us that even here your greatest power lies in response. Betrayal teaches you vigilance. Loss teaches you gratitude for what remains. Pain teaches you endurance. Even tragedy can sharpen your wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, who lost many children, did not let grief destroy him. He transformed it into compassion and philosophy. He realized that nothing external, not even death, could steal the virtue of his soul. And this is the ultimate Stoic paradox. Those who hurt you become the unintentional architects of your strength. They may strike at your life, but in the process they hammer your soul into unbreakable steel. This is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires daily practice. Stoicism is not just theory, it is a way of life. Every insult, every betrayal, every wound becomes a test. Will you waste your energy in reaction, or will you use it to refine yourself? The choice is always yours. And over time, as you consistently choose discipline over impulse, peace over anger, silence over revenge, you rise into a state of inner freedom. And here is where the silent punishment reaches its peak. Those who hurt you fade into shadows. Their power evaporates. Their influence disappears. They wanted to control you, but in the end, they never even touched you. In this way, the smartest way to destroy those who hurt you is not to destroy them at all. It is to live in such a way that their actions become irrelevant, to rise so high in discipline and wisdom that their attempts to harm you look like children throwing stones at the sky. The sky does not answer. The sky does not descend to fight. The sky simply remains vast, unmoved, eternal. And in that silence, the stones fall back onto the ones who threw them. So remember this: the world does not need your rage, your arguments, or your revenge. What it needs is your example. The person who remains calm under attack. The person who keeps walking forward while others try to drag them back. The person who lives with such strength of character that even betrayal cannot break them. That person becomes untouchable. That is the essence of Stoicism. The smartest way to destroy those who hurt you is not through battle, but through indifference. By refusing to give them what they want, your attention, your energy, your reaction, you strip them of their power. And when you live with virtue, when you practice wisdom, courage, discipline, and justice, you win the only victory that matters: mastery over yourself, because in the end, the true battlefield is not out there, is within. And the moment you understand this, those who sought to harm you can no longer face you. They fall under the weight of their own shame, while you stand free. If this video gave you a new way of looking at your struggles, share it with someone who needs this strength today. And remember, true Stoic power doesn't come from fighting every battle, it comes from mastering yourself so deeply that no battle can touch you. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay wise, and as always, live with virtue.